Hello everybody, it's Jama Malmi. Welcome back to another scrapbook process video. If you're new here, welcome. You're in the right place if you're looking for scrapbooking ideas because I post videos twice a week just on scrapbooking. Today I'm working on a vacation album for my sister and her family's trip to Hawaii, and I'm doing something a little different. I am normally a strict 12 by 12 scrapbooker, but her photos didn't necessarily warrant that size of an album. So I thought I would size it down a little bit and try that out. Of course, the concepts, the ideas, the techniques I'm going to share, you can use on your 12 by 12 layouts. So let's go ahead and dive in.
So I'm working with 8.5 by 11. I forgot to actually mention that part. And I'm using Hammer Mill index paper. I really like this paper because it's a heavyweight but not too heavy, and it's bright white. So I will link that down below. I get it on Amazon. I pulled in my all-purpose mat, which is really nice because nothing sticks to it, and it also has a silicone back so it doesn't shift around. And I pulled in some craft cardstock. My idea is to create sort of a bottom of the ocean scene because some of these photos are underwater. My nephew had a GoPro which took some really cool underwater shots when they went snorkeling. So I created my little sand mounds, and I'm going to mark how far I want them to go up. I'm going to slide the other page over and just match it, and then I'm going to do some ink blending. We're going to do a lot of ink blending today using mostly Distress Oxide inks. So I've got the blending brushes because I wanted more of a feathered look rather than using the foam. So I've got Mermaid Lagoon is the darker blue that I put on first, and then Peacock Feathers. And I thought this made a nice ombre look with a nice transition that matched the photos well. So I'm not doing a super even coverage this first time. With the Distress Oxides, you really need to do at least 2 layers of color to get the best result. So now I'm going to go back with the Mermaid Lagoon, and I'm going over right where I had it and sort of blending up into the other color as well. And then I'll go back over with this color again and sort of blend it all out, blend it together. And then once I've got a nice solid look, I'm kind of feathering it up a little bit too to sort of give that, it's almost like that bubbly effect that you get at the top of water, even though this is supposed to be underwater, sort of an underwater scene. But I wanted it to kind of look feathered, so I'm liking how that's looking. And now I'm playing with my photo placement, and I'm going to mess around with this a lot. The 8.5 by 11 size is very foreign to me. I'm used to working on 12 by 12 and having more real estate. And so I'm just kind of playing with the placement of all my photos and making sure I have a spot for journaling and all that. But I thought that it would look really cool to have these sun rays in the background. And I'm feathering them out at the end. So if you can tell, I'm putting a darker color about half or 2/3 of the way out, and then I'm really just kind of feathering and smoothing it out so it has this faded look, and it looks really cool in the end. This stencil, by the way, as you can see, is 12 by 12, and it's part of Stencil Pack 3, which retires at the end of August, so I will link that below. I brought the sun rays down to the bottom too, and then just ever so slightly blended them in with the water. And then wait for it. Here is the reveal, the best part in slow-mo. Woohoo, I love it. So I was kind of toying with leaving off that 3x4 photo. I really liked their family photo, and it was all of them on the boat, and the photo of my niece and nephew kind of looking out. I thought, well, it's cute, but it's not really necessary. But I do end up using it in the end because I just think it's kind of cool. So I was kind of playing with where that sand is going to go and realized I needed a little bit more of this darker Mermaid Lagoon kind of fading up. So I added a little more of that. And now we're going to create a sand texture. This is a peek at a new stamp set called Background Elements that comes out August 1st. And there are a couple that would make some good sand, but I decided to go with this one, and you're going to see how realistic it looks. It looks so, so cool. So I'm seasoning my stamp since I haven't used it, and I like to rub it on my hand to do that. And then I like to stamp it onto some scrap paper to make sure that it's stamping well. And it is. And that did double duty because I was trying to figure out if I want to do first generation or second generation stamping. I wasn't sure how dark it would show up on this craft, but I wanted to do the first generation because stamping it the second time, it wasn't dark enough. And this fades over time, especially on the craft cardstock because it's very porous. It really soaks into that paper and gets quite a bit lighter than when you start out. So before I put that on, I splattered a little bit of water to get that cool Distress Oxide water spot look on my water. And then I took my clear shimmer brush and I did some little small splatters. And of course, it's really hard to pick that up on the camera, but I think you can see a little bit of it here. Just such pretty subtle shine. If you don't have a shimmer brush, you definitely need one. It comes in all the colors, but the clear is definitely the one to start with if you are new to them. So now I'm adhering my sand, and I meant to put a strip of glue across the top of the sand and then a couple on the bottom on the base page. Had to go back and redo that. And then once it's down, I'm ruffling it up just a little bit to add some texture, kind of ripping it and curling it and just giving it a little texture. If I had thought about it before putting it down, I would have inked the top of the sand as well, but I didn't think of it. But that would have added a nice look as well. So I took some Bluebird ink and I'm just very gently doing ink to paper around the edges. So I matted all the photos in white because I like to do that so they really pop off the white. And just like in my last pool scrapbook layout, I wanted just a hint of another color. So this worked really well. I ended up switching to a darker blue, the sapphire, and I inked around the edges of all of the photos that way. Then I dug into my pocket cards that go with the beach party collection. This collection matches the colors that I'm using really well, but I decided not to use all the paper. It didn't quite go with my look that I was going for, but I thought that this little piece might be fun, and I just fussy cut it out. It was very easy to cut out, but I ended up not using it, and I'm sure I'll use it on another page for this same album. Instead, I decided to pull out the stamp of the month for July. This is called Voice of the Sea. It's only available in July, and it's only $5 with a $50 purchase on my website. Or if you're a VIP, it is free. So I just stamped a bunch of the images, and I used intense black ink because that is safe for coloring with alcohol markers. I'm doing some very, very simple coloring with my markers. And I like to stamp it twice, which is why I'm using my Misty. I only do that with the intense black because it doesn't always stamp as dark as I want it to the first time. So I stamped a bunch of those images, and I'm going to start coloring them. So I've already colored the turtle, and I used the dull green blend marker. These tri-blend markers have 3 shades in one marker, so it makes it really easy for people like me who are not very good at coloring. There's no guesswork. So I used, I think, just 2 colors, and then I wanted it to make the turtle a little more blue to match all the blue in my photos. So I added the lightest color of the aqua blue marker and then blended it again with the lightest color of the dull green. Now, the sequel was really simple, and I watched a video from a fellow YouTuber, Jessica Dipzinski, who showed how simple it is to color these images. So I'm going to link her video down below because I really learned a lot watching her and just keeping this coloring very simple. And it makes it nice that the more realistic images like this have the lines so you kind of know where to do the shading, and it makes it pretty easy. So I just used 2 grays, the gray-brown blend marker, and I did the medium and the light, and then now I'm going over with the colorless blender to sort of blend it all together. These are the colors I used. You can take a screenshot if you want, but again, I did such simple coloring. It's not my forte, so I didn't show all the coloring, and I just want to let you know that if I can do it, you can do it, because coloring for me is a struggle. So I wanted those cute little images to stand out a little more, and so I had these little round circles sitting in my desk drawer. I like to keep some white circles and other die cut shapes on hand for times like this to make it really simple to grab and use. I decided to switch out my journal card because the other one didn't really go with the more realistic look of those stamps. So this one has a little bit less decoration. I thought it went a little bit better. I cut off the bottom where the water was, and I'm going to end up using that. And now I'm doing a little inking treatment on these circles where these creatures are going to sit, and I thought they looked kind of like bubbles this way. You've even got the highlight in the middle to make it look sort of like a bubble, and it really helps it to stand out even more and not be like so stark white on the page. Then I decided to pull out the stamp set again, and it's got some shells and sea stars. So I decided to stamp those randomly in the sand, and I'm going to stamp the star and 2 different shells just sort of randomly around, and thought that that looked cute. I ended up adding another sand bank because the first one looked a little lonely and it needed a little bit of extra texture. And I pulled out some dies that I had, some alphabet dies. I ended up going with this one. It's called Block Alphabet, and it's actually on clearance right now for really cheap. It's over 50% off if you wanted to go check that out. I'll have all of the supplies I use linked down in the description below in case you're interested in anything. Now I'm pulling out my same 2 Distress Oxide inks, and I'm doing that same ombre look on the letters. I started with Mermaid Lagoon on the bottom and then went with peacock feathers on the top, blending them again, and then I sprinkled some more shimmer brush on them and gave them that cool little oxidized splattered look as well. I added a mixture of clear sparkles and bitty sparkles around each of the little creatures, and I had a tiny little ink smudge next to the S in the title that I wanted to cover, so I put some up there as well. We're almost done here, but I thought that I needed a little bit more of that toffee color from the bottom in the sand, and I wasn't quite sure. I was struggling with what to do, and then I thought, well, when in doubt, add more splatters, right? That's just kind of my go-to. So I didn't have the toffee shimmer brush. Note to self, I need to add that to my list. I don't use this toffee color all that often, so instead I just smushed some toffee ink on my all-purpose mat and picked it up with my clear shimmer brush, and that worked in a pinch. It's just not quite as intense of a color. Lots of splatters in the sand to add some more sparkle and shine down there and all around the page, and I think that that really helped to kind of even out the page. I did it to the other side as well, only some of the color kind of splattered over from the other side. I was trying to be so careful not to get it over there or not to get it on my photos, but it somehow flung over all the way over there. So I didn't bother covering my photos here. I just went with it, got splatter all over, and reprinted my photos. I wanted to show you this cool little paper crafting tool. It really helps when you make a boo-boo and you glue something down and you don't want it glued down. It's got a really flat tapered end that I could just slide under those little pieces to get the glue out, and then I could slide my photo back under and put it in place. I didn't bother removing the other ones. I just put this one right over it, and no one will ever know. Just adds a tiny bit more dimension. Put that sparkle back on and we are done. So here's a closer look at everything. All that texture in the sand is just so fun. I really, really love the look of this, and I hope you do too. I hope you got some good ideas. If you did, then please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're looking for more water-themed ideas, then check out this video right here that I did last week. And here is another video that I think you might enjoy. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.